In Memphis, we know a thing or two about resilience. From the grindhouse to the Delta, we protect what's ours. But when pests invade your home, it's time to fight back. Grade A Pest knows how to handle what crawls, flies, and bites. With local experience and guaranteed results.
I'm Reggie with Grade A Pest Control. We service the Memphis metro area. That also includes DeSoto and Fayette County as well.
Grade A Pest has the entire Mid-South covered. So if bugs and pests put you to the test, let Grade A solve your problem. In Memphis, nothing comes easy, and that's exactly how we like it. This is a city built on hustle, on heart, on grit. And at Carway, our rides are built the same way. Tough, reliable, ready for the grind. No games, no gimmicks, just Memphis-style service. Real, honest, and built on trust. Where grit meets grind, you meet your next ride. Carway, grit, grind, and pink beetles.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me this week, solo, just our producer, Kenny Stubblefield. No Gabe this week, so y'all will have to deal with whatever nonsense Kenny comes up with tonight. We'll leave it at that.
I'm feeling off the rails. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm feeling a little off the rails.
I'm shocked. I can't believe that.
Hey, I'm not the one who got in trouble. Gabe got in trouble the last time with your mom.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
I've been relatively tame for a while now.
Relatively tame.
I've calmed it down. In my 45 years of age, I've calmed it down.
You finally starting to slow it down. I don't believe you, but okay. Anything you want to talk about before we jump into Memphis Tigers? Anything fun for Valentine's Day, you and Tracy?
Dude, I've been married for 16 years, bro.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
What are you talking about?
That's why I asked.
I went up to Tracy. I was like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? No. Okay, cool.
Cool. That's fine.
I was like, you want to do dinner? No. All right. Well, I'll get you some presents. All right.
Yeah, that's about what
I will say this, man. Like, get yourself a daughter. All right. Like, especially when your daughter gets to be 14 years old.
Then that's your Valentine's?
Well, no, that's part of it. Yeah. But I went out with Sayla and got Tracy a bunch of Valentine's Day gifts, and she was kind of telling me, I don't think she's gonna like these. Like, I don't think she's gonna like what you get her. And I was like, nah, I know her. I've been married to her 16 years. Like, it's all good. I presented it to her, and I saw the look on her face, and I said, that's only part one. That's only part one. So then Sayla and I ran out the door, grabbed more stuff, and came back. Part two, things that Sayla said she wanted. She loved it. Yeah, yeah. She loved it. Yeah. So get yourself a daughter. Yeah. It's awesome.
It helps.
This is your first Valentine's Day as a married man.
It was. Yes. We had a great night.
I'm sure.
I went and got some steaks, cooked some steaks. And yeah, it was chill. We had a nice chill day, watched movies, ate steaks. Very nice. We're like, this is a good tradition because I think you can get caught up in trying to do like the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
That's not just Valentine's Day. That's like anything.
Anything. Yeah.
There are times and place for nice, fancy dinners and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes it's just better to keep it simple and do things. I got a great piece of advice from my grandmother
Oh, nice.
like last week, something like that.
Oh, great.
She was okay. I'm gonna go quick on this because we said we were gonna be fast tonight, but why not? Why not spill a little bit
Let's go for it.
of Nana's wisdom?
Nana's wisdom is always good.
Yes. So we lost my grandfather in November,
Yes.
and she was asking me what we were gonna do for me and Anna Ruth. We're gonna do for Valentine's Day, and I told her, we're just gonna cook at the house and eat and hang out and stuff. And she was like, that is great. That's perfect. She said, always keep a tradition like that that's obtainable, that you can do every year, regardless of what's going on in life. You can always go grab a steak, throw it on the grill, and cook it. And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
She said, because me and your papa, Christmas Eve every year, we would sit down, we'd cook a steak, we'd eat our steak, we'd wrap presents, and it was perfect. And we could do it every year. It didn't matter what kind of craziness was going on in life. We could always take a few hours and do that. And I was like, you know what?
It's great advice.
It's great advice. So
keep it like in business, they say, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Just keep it simple.
And that's perfect for us as men. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Don't overthink this. Just go. Yeah. Just keep it simple. Yeah, I love it. That's great advice from Nana. I'm taking that advice.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you someone, that cannot keep it simple. That's the Memphis Tigers basketball program. Since the last time we talked, they've lost 2 games, lost to North Texas by 7, lost to Utah State by 24, and suspended 2 players indefinitely. So
got ridiculed nationally for complaining about dunks at the end of the game.
Yes, against Utah State. So it's been a busy week for Memphis basketball, and no positivity has come out of it. So let's talk about this a little bit. I know people don't like when we're critical of the Memphis basketball team, but that's just what they keep giving us.
That's all we got, bro.
I mean, there is no silver lining or any positivity to find out of what we've seen since the last time that we talked last week. So let's go through it a little bit. We're not going to
disagree slightly. There is something positive, but let's go through this first.
Okay. We're not going to jump into breaking down games or anything like that. There's nothing. There's not really anything to glean from those 2 losses. But I will say 2 weeks ago, I think it was, they had won 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
It had looked good. Or maybe this was I think this was actually last week when we were talking about this.
Uh-huh.
And we were all not like jumping on the bandwagon of this team's about to take off into the stratosphere or anything like that. And I think there were definitely people out there that were hoping and praying they were turning the corner. But what we said has shown up in the last week, and that was we wanted to see consistency. Like if we were actually going to believe that this team had turned a corner and had found some positivity and good things, we could keep talking good things, and we had to see consistency.
Yeah.
And I think I said that didn't mean that they had to win every game from here on out. It just meant when you turn the TV on and you watch them play, you go, okay, this looks like a different team. Well, that did not happen. Me and Gabe talked about it earlier on the radio. In that Utah State game, it was a bit of a microcosm of a lot of issues that we've seen this season. This team, unlike Penny Hardaway coach teams in the past, if you put your foot on their neck or if they feel the slightest bit of adversity, uncomfortability, momentum shifts, basically if anything negative happens on the floor or if everything doesn't go pretty close to perfect, then they are a possession or 2 away from completely collapsing and falling apart and looking incompetent. And I said we weren't going to break down the games. We're not going to. But what I'm talking about by the Utah State game being a microcosm of a lot of the season, they were very competitive through the first 16, 17 minutes of that game. They took multiple leads. It was back and forth, a lot of lead changes. They were getting to the free throw line well. They were shooting well. Defensively, they were pretty solid. And then it just fell apart.
Yeah.
And the way that I said it to Gabe earlier is you could have went to the kitchen and grabbed a bag of chips or went to the bathroom and come back, and it was 48-34 at halftime, and you would have been like, what happened?
What just happened?
The quality of the two teams on the floor looked the exact same or relatively close for those 16 to 17 minutes. And then for the rest of the game, Memphis didn't look like they really belonged on the same floor as Utah State. So it summed up the season. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this team other than that it's a complete failure. I get mad, like be upset. They are under 500 in one of the worst conferences that I've ever seen. Like Memphis playing like it's supposed to be a legit conference. This is one of the worst conferences I've ever seen. It's terrible. There's not a team that I would consider a good team in this conference, and Memphis can barely keep their head above water.
Yeah, it is the Utah State game. There was no obviously going into that game when they scheduled that game, it was in the preseason with a tough non-conference, and Penny said, "You know what? I think I want to add a non-conference opponent into the equation that could potentially help us with our at-large bid to the NCAA tournament." Right. And then obviously you go through the non-conference that they went through, and you walk out of that non-conference and you go, well, now that Utah State game is basically, it doesn't even matter.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It didn't. A win against them wouldn't have helped them outside of maybe a morale. You know,
just like beating a quality team,
a team that's in the top 25. Some polls, not in others. Like but they're a good team. They're 21-3, I think, on the season. They're a good team, a team that will probably make some noise in the NCAA tournament this year. And even if they lost that game, it wasn't like you were going to learn anything why they lost. Like, oh my gosh, they lost that game. But it was the way in which they lost.
Right.
And then the aftermath that made me go, oh God, this was just a terrible situation all the way through and through. And I know Penny in his radio show last night tried to, and justifiably so, rightfully so. I'm not downing him at all for what he said. These kind of games are important. And I think, Penny said he learned a lot during that game about, what's needed and what's not needed. And shout out to him for that. They became a laughingstock nationally after that game because of the manner in which they allowed Utah State to just basically punk them in the last couple of minutes of that game where, you said it was 48-34 at halftime. They were down and it was like, what just happened? Well, here's the thing. They fought back in the second half. They got it to within 5. They got it to within, they were right there. They were a couple of possessions away from taking the lead in the second half. And then just Utah State went on a run and Memphis gave up and literally allowed them to just tee off NBA dunk contest on them for the last 30 seconds of the game. And it's just, I just don't understand. Yes, the rules, the non-verbal rules, the silent rules of the game, unspoken rules are you don't do that.
Right.
But this is a different day and age of college basketball. Like metrics matter. Everything matters.
Impressive wins by wide margins
against bad teams. Like if you are on your home court and you're playing a bad team, a quad 3 team, and you don't cover or you don't win convincingly. Like, look, they beat Memphis by 23 points and went up 1 spot in the KenPom rankings.
Right.
Like what if they had lost? What if they had said, you know what? Like, hey, we beat them, we got the win, but we're only going to do it by 15 instead of 23
or 5 or single digits.
Like, what if they go down
multiple times?
Like, what if they go down in the KenPom rankings? Like that matters, right? What if the net goes down? Like that kind of stuff matters. And it just felt really strange to me. Like I never thought that I would hear a University of Memphis coach or team complain about the ethics of the game, like breaking the code, if you will, of not dunking on them. It just felt, I just didn't like the way that Memphis came out of that game looking like nationally, like it just Utah State did what they wanted to do. They did what they did what they needed to do, and they did it in a way of riling up their fan base. And I can't blame them doing that. Like, maybe we can sit here and say the dunk at the end of the game at the buzzer was a big, like, that was an issue, like the windmill dunk, but still, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, stop them. Like, do something about it.
Right.
The game that I was just stunned by was the North Texas game. Dude, North Texas is so bad. Like, they are so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is acting up again. Give me a second. I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, you're gone again.
I'm back.
Maybe.
My internet is acting a fool. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with it.
I think we got you back.
Okay. Well, the North Texas game, 76-69. And of the 76 points that North Texas scored in that game, there were only 16 points that didn't come off of fouls by the University of Memphis or off turnovers by the University of Memphis.
That's crazy.
16 points. 8
That's crazy.
field goals. North Texas shot 41 free throws in that game. And here's the thing. The fouls were only 23-16 in favor of North Texas. Or 16 fouls for North Texas, 23 for Memphis. So it's not like North Texas, like Memphis, like got called for like 3 times the amount of fouls that North Texas got called for, but they shot 41 free throws in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just an absurd game by the University of Memphis.
Yeah.
Like, it just a stunning loss to North Texas and Denton, which is a team that quite literally might not make the American Conference tournament this year. How bad they are. And Memphis lost it just and the manner in which they lost. My God.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to the end of that Utah State game and kind of that aftermath of it. You talked about it kind of making Memphis a laughingstock and people talking about Penny's comments and stuff like that. There's only one type of team that can complain about something like that. A bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Only one kind of team can complain about running up the score and not being able to do anything about it.
Right.
A bad one. And so I feel like, Penny kind of caught flack for it, but at the same time, it's like, this is the only way that I can fight for this team, I guess. And that's what people were saying, is he wrong for doing it? Is he not wrong for doing it? I mean, I personally don't like it. My thing's always been, look, if you're going to complain about it, stop them. Kind of like you said. But at the same time, like, Penny's got to go to bat for his team. And that's kind of what you have to do in that situation. But the only team that gets a score run up on them, especially by, like a solid but not amazing team, like if it was the number 1 team in the country and you lose by 20, okay, whatever. But this is a good, not great team, and you're losing by 20 plus, and they're just laying it on you at the end. Only that happens to a bad team. So
yeah,
that's kind of my response to that portion of it. But let's shift gears a little bit, just a couple minutes, and we'll go to break. Suspensions, indefinite suspensions for Hasan Abdul Hakim, Zachary Davis, 2 players that, Penny was high on both of these guys before the season. I think we were pretty high on them as well, especially Hasan Abdul Hakim. We saw a lot of potential there, especially with what he did last season. We knew there was a talent jump, and as far as competition jump, but just watching him felt like, hey, this dude with his size, with his ability to create, like he might not be a superstar at Memphis, but he can be a really good piece.
Mm-hmm.
He's indefinitely suspended. Zachary Davis, we knew his offensive upside was limited, but as far as just length, athleticism, defensive ability, like there was a lot of things to like about Zachary Davis as well. He's indefinitely suspended. So talked about this earlier with Gabe as well. I think what this tells us, this season as a whole, and kind of what's happened with those two guys, what happened with Aaron Bradshaw as far as, him being fined earlier in the year, some of the other guys on this team and things that have surrounded them. I think there has to be a philosophical change in the way that Memphis's coaching staff brings players in. I say that not being naive and knowing and understanding in this day and age of recruiting, you don't have as much time to scout the person as you do the player. You used to have time to, build those relationships, understand more about that player, their background, their ability to acclimate, their ability to play well or not with others, like all those things you have more time to flesh out. So yeah. I'm not saying this being naive. I understand it is 1,000 miles an hour. These guys' phones are ringing off the hook. You got to get them. But with coaches around the country that are great culture builders, program builders, maximizers of talent, they're not having these type of issues. You might see a player on a team or a situation on a team where something happens because the caveat that I just said, like you don't have that time. So there can be a player on one of the best teams in the country that has an off the court issue or something happens. And you kind of write that off as exactly what it is. They didn't have the same amount of time. But when you have multiple examples that have come to our attention out in the public, these are not behind closed doors things. Because we know a lot of stuff's handled in a locker room and behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
But what does it tell you when all that stuff is coming out the seams? When we're hearing about it, when we know that fines are happening, when we know that suspensions are happening, I can't imagine what's going on behind the scenes then. Because it doesn't all come out. We know, we've seen it. We know all the dirty laundry doesn't come out. All the things that are surrounding a team don't come out. Whatever's making its way to the media is typically the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
And I think most people that are any kind of knowledgeable about athletics, especially collegiate athletics, have been around it, know and understand that a locker room, there's a lot of crazy things that happen. But if crazy things are making it to the surface, then who knows? Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? It leaves open a lot of room for interpretation there. But you have to get the right people for your program and for your culture.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that guys don't deserve second chances. That doesn't mean that people can't grow and mature. And even if they were difficult at their last stop, it doesn't mean that they can't turn it around. I do not believe that in the slightest. I don't want this to be taken that way because I very much love and believe in redemption stories.
Right.
But you can't have a roster full of them.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't have 4, 5, 6 guys that when it comes to character or off the court issues or whatever expression you want to use for could potentially turn into something, and you have a question mark beside their name. You can't have 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with question marks next to their name.
It's true.
It's just not going to work. It's not possible to make that many question marks mesh together. If you bring in someone that's a reclamation project, or if you bring in someone that the potential is there as a player, but they need some work as a person or as a teammate, you have to surround them with coaches and players that can bring them up, not that can go down to their level. And I don't know all the ins and outs. I'm not pretending to know. I'm not demeaning anyone's character because I don't know exactly what's happening. But I know to get suspended indefinitely from a college basketball team that needs bodies and needs players that are performing, especially for a coach like Penny who has been in locker rooms and understands that people all come from different backgrounds and have different issues. And he's been think about it. He's been patient with a lot of players that have come through the University of Memphis that have had issues.
Right.
Some have made it. Some have made it to the media. Some have not. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that know what I'm talking about. So to have players being suspended and fined and all the things that we're hearing, you put too many question marks on a roster.
Yeah.
And that's on you.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have guys that are going to buy into the culture and to the program. And I'm not saying the whole team doesn't, but you can't have a quarter of them that don't.
That you have to fight on a daily basis to make sure they're a part of it.
To go to practice, to go to meetings, to be present, to care, to be a good teammate,
to do your rehab, to do your training, to do your therapy, to do all that kind of stuff. Like you can't have a team full of dudes you're fighting on that. And that's what it feels like you're seeing when Penny talks about we can't get him to buy in. That's what you're hearing from him when he says those kinds of things. I don't want to take away from the responsibility that Zach Davis and Hasan Abdul Hakim have on this. They are absolutely 1000% to blame for whatever situation is happening here. They have an opportunity. The opportunity that these guys have to make money playing college basketball and to play for a coach like Penny Hardaway, to play for a university that if you just give it your all, they will love you forever, right?
Yeah.
And to throw that away, to shit down their pants like that, and to not do it, it's just unbelievable to me. Those two guys have been the most frustrating players for me this season because the talent is there, the size, the ability, what they bring to the table. Like these, Zach Davis and Hasan Abdul Hakim should absolutely be dominating the American Conference with their size and their ability. They should be absolutely on the first team, All-America Conference, or the American Conference first team at the end of the year. They should absolutely be there. They have the talent to be able to do that. But I asked this question in the middle of the season when they were both doing the things that they were doing, is do you guys want to be basketball players or do you want to look like basketball players?
Right.
Like, are you actually hoopers or you just want to are you pretend hoopers?
Right.
Do you guys want to like reap the rewards of being a basketball player for the University of Memphis, or do you want to be basketball players for the University of Memphis?
Right.
And it's clear these guys are fake. These guys are not real hoopers. These guys are prima donna, whatever they did, whatever they could not get on the right path.
Right.
And I'm sorry, like that is as much as we can put the blame that, listen, you know, Penny's got to get guys around the team that philosophically understand, like buy into what he's doing. At the same time, bro, you got to man up as a player and be and like do this, like
especially one that's being compensated.
Right. You're compensated to play this game.
Right.
I guarantee you they ain't giving none of that money back.
Right.
None of it. Right. It's just crazy to me, man. Like crazy. And I think you're right. And I hope Zach Davis posted an Instagram post of him today at the Lori Walton practice facility, like longingly reaching out to the court. Man, if you don't get the hell out of my face with that bullshit, like dude, you don't care about this. Like if you did this, all this wouldn't have happened. Like if you didn't care, or if you cared about what was going on, if you cared about playing ball and being the best player you can be and being an ultimate teammate and you know, being a Memphis Tiger, we wouldn't have to be dealing with all this nonsense. But you couldn't get out of your own way. It's just a sad microcosm of what this season has been for the University of Memphis and for Penny Hardaway. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it's a crazy season. Hopefully the drama, the off the court stuff. Hopefully all that stuff settles down as the season winds down and there's not more stuff that comes out. I don't know. We just need to get to the end of this thing. We just need this season to be done, to be over with. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side with the Hot 3. We're going to talk some NBA, some more college basketball, some national college basketball news. So stay tuned. Be back on the other side with the Hot 3.
In Memphis, nothing comes easy, and that's exactly how we like it. This is a city built on hustle, on heart, on grit. And at Carway, our rides are built the same way. Tough, reliable, ready for the grind. No games, no gimmicks, just Memphis-style service. Real, honest, and built on trust. Where grit meets grind, you meet your next ride. Carway, grit, grind, and Pink Beetles.
Who do you want the Grizzlies to take if they pick first overall? I guess that should be the big question.
It's not even close for me. It's AJ DeBansta.
I'm there too. That's where I'm at.
Most athletic prospect, leads the NCAA in scoring. Offense is getting better. He still needs to get better, like off the dribble, shooting three ball. He's a great attacker and slasher, but things that will get better with actual NBA coaching. No offense to the coaches at BYU. I'm sure they're wonderful people.
Yeah.
But NBA coaching will help him with his handles, his three-point shot, his ability to create off the dribble. But you just there's so much raw upside with this kid, and it never hurts to just draft the most athletic kid at the top of the draft. He plays hard, he shows up for his team, he's a leader. I like this kid a whole lot.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with your host, Luke Hatmaker, every Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. One of the major lessons that Penny's going to have to focus in on and work on is the recruiting aspect in the offseason of how he recruits. Like, not even how he recruits and who he recruits, but that he gets engaged early on in the recruitment process. Penny is not the recruiter for this team. Rick Stansberry for 2 seasons built the roster, and then Nolan Smith built the roster this year. But the majority of the roster, the last 5 seasons have been built by the assistant coaches, with Penny Hardaway kind of signing off at the end of it all. That clearly has to change. He needs to be more actively engaged in that. You can't be a CEO type coach that's not in the mud trying to recruit the players yourself. Like, you've got to go out there and do it yourself, right? Find the guys that want to play for you. Find the guys that are guys that you can mesh with, philosophically. Tune in to Tigers Live with Francis Carlotta, live after every Memphis Tiger basketball game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In Memphis, we know a thing or two about resilience. From the grindhouse to the Delta, we protect what's ours. But when pests invade your home, it's time to fight back. Grade A Pest knows how to handle what crawls, flies, and bites. With local experience and guaranteed results.
I'm Reggie with Grade A Pest Control. We service the Memphis metro area. That also includes DeSoto and Fayette County as well.
Grade A Pest has the entire Mid-South covered. So if bugs and pests put you to the test, let Grade A solve your problem. All right, let's get to the hot three. We got some fun topics to talk about. The All-Star weekend just happened, and part of the conversation that came out of that was a lot of questions and thoughts about teams tanking in the NBA. Adam Silver talked about it a lot prior to the All-Star weekend, fined the Utah Jazz and the Indiana Pacers for compromising the integrity of the league. The Utah Jazz were fined last year $100,000, and this year they were fined $500,000. And it really came down to this idea. Once Utah made the trade for Jaren Jackson Jr., there was a game against the Orlando Magic where they were up by 9 heading into the fourth quarter, set all of their starters, and lost the game to the Orlando Magic by 3 points, which is crazy because Orlando's supposed to be pretty good, and they're not good this year. Desmond Bane apparently did not do what they thought they were going to do. But the Utah Jazz have been fined for that, and then the Pacers were fined for violating the player participation policy after a league investigation found Pascal Siakam and 2 other players who set out the game could have played even if it was under reduced minutes. A lot of conversations have been happening. Some reports came out saying that the gambling companies were mad at these NBA teams because now gamblers are losing their money because they're betting on Utah and Indiana and losing money. So the gamblers are mad. So the gambling companies put some pressure on Adam Silver. Then there were reports that Oklahoma City was mad. So they're the ones that brought Adam Silver's attention to it. Adam Silver came out with a bunch of ideas of what he wants to do. I got to deal with this. He says one of his comments that he made at the All-Star weekend was overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundation of NBA competition, and we will respond accordingly to any further actions that compromise the integrity of our games. Christian, is this a much to do about nothing? Should teams be left to be able to tank and do what they want to do, or what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's complicated. I think it's
my bad.
It's definitely a nuanced topic. Multiple different schools of thought on it. First being that it's just kind of annoying, especially if you're a fan that actually wants to watch your team play. And when they start doing these types of things, they become unwatchable, right? Because they're genuinely not attempting to win games. They're, pulling starters at the end of close games, or not playing players that could play. Like it makes sense, right? Like if you're the GM or the owner of the Jazz, it's like, look, we got some pretty good pieces on this team, and if we can land one of these top 3 picks and get a Cameron Boozer or AJ DeBansto or Darren Peterson, like, we're cooking at that point. We've got a real roster at that point that we could compete with. So I understand it from like an ownership perspective and a management perspective. It's like, look, we've got a good core. We need one more elite player to take us over the top. And if you're a team like Indiana or a team like Utah that's not in a major market, that's not going to draw a top free agent.
Yeah.
The draft is the way that you have to do that. But like I said, on the other hand, if you're an actual fan of the game, or if you're trying to grow the game and grow the audience, teams tanking is not the way to do that, because the fans of the best teams in the league, they're going to watch anyway. But all those fans that tune into their crappy teams, even when they're crappy, if they know they're not even trying or putting their best players on the floor, then they're not watching. So I don't think it's a lot to do about nothing. Like, I think it is an issue, and it's something that the NBA has been kind of accused of and that we've seen for years. Like, you don't really hear tanking too often in other sports. It's a lot more mainstream in the NBA than any other league. But I don't know what the answer is as far as fixing it, right? Like the fines or whatever. I mean, unless they become like astronomical numbers, or you start taking draft picks away, or you start, deducing salaries from teams or cutting their salary cap, things like that, or giving them major luxury tax penalties or something like that for it. I don't know what the fix is. Gabe brought this up earlier on the radio about something that Adam Silver said to The Athletic about turning the quote-unquote draft into just free agents, like the incoming rookies just become free agents. That's the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life.
That was not, and I fell for that too. That wasn't a real quote. That we got aggregated on that one.
Okay, because Gabe brought that up on the radio earlier.
Somebody made I brought that up on a show a couple of days ago and was like, the guy, and Anthony was like, that's not real. Like, that's not a real quote by him. He didn't actually say that.
Good, because
that would have been the worst idea ever.
I think he brought did Gabe make this up too, or did Adam Silver actually bring up doing like a tournament? That has been talked about for the last few years.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I know Adam Silver's answer to everything is kind of throw a tournament.
More games.
Yeah. but it does. I mean, it at least incentivizes you in those tournament games, I guess. I mean, you can still tank the season because you still have to have a terrible record to be in one of those tournament games for a draft pick. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. So I don't know if it stops. I'm not the biggest fan of it because it feels kind of cheap. But like I said, if I was in a front office, it's the smartest thing to do. If you're the Jazz front office or the Pacers, who just had an incredible year and are missing their best player, it's like, we're already a good team. We already have a superstar in Tyrese Halliburton. Imagine if we get a Boozer, DeBansta, Peterson, Caleb Wilson. Like, if we get one of these guys, then we're really trending up. So it would be a hard urge to fight in ownership.
Yeah.
To not do that.
Well, I mean, I think that the Grizzlies have been accused of it too, and I think they're full on tanking now.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and maybe this is just rosy glasses looking at it because I'm a Grizzlies fan. It looks like it's more ethical because they're actually getting they're trading away pieces that are a part of the foundation of the franchise and giving the keys to young guys and kind of trying to figure out what they have in those guys. And they don't even, honestly, at this point, they don't even have to try to like tank to lose games. They're just not good enough.
They don't have much.
They don't have much, right?
Yeah.
They have a bunch of young guys, right? And so it's like they're competitive, and the Grizzlies games are a lot more fun to watch because they have been competitive against some tough teams. Like the Denver Nuggets game to end the first half of the season was a fun-ass game for the first 3.5 quarters, and then they just Jokic and Jamal Murray just did what they did, right? They're the two of the best players in the world playing it against Cedric Coward and Cam Spencer. Like it's not going to finish well.
Like I was saying with the Jazz and the Pacers, like it makes more sense for small market teams to do it.
Yeah, you build through the draft. You don't build through free agency.
You have to.
And it makes sense because OKC's all pissed off about it because they own everybody's first-round draft picks for the next 30 years.
Right.
But they're protected. Like Utah's protected pick, if they get in top 3 or top 4, top 5, whatever it is, OKC loses out on some of those picks, and they're like, man, we've got.
And that's another incentive to tank, though, is protected picks, which I don't know. Do they do away with those? Because once again, they're the only league that has protected picks. That's the only league that has that as a bargain chip in trades as far as protected picks. And if it's already a lost season and you have a top 3 protected, I'm going to do everything I can to have a top 3 pick so it's protected.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Utah's is pretty egregious because they've got a good roster. Like Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Keontae George are good players.
Ace Bailey,
good players. So, like, I understand the frustration with the Utah Jazz thinking because they have a team, right? They have a team now. They have pieces.
But like I said, they know that they're not reaching championship contending level, even though they're like a fringe playoff, maybe like 6 to 10 seed level team. It's like we're never gonna compete for a 1 seed or really be a true championship contender. But if we get a top 3 pick, especially in this draft, it's looking to be like a generational level draft at the top of it.
Yeah.
Strap the rocket.
Strap the rocket. Here we go. All right, let's move on. I think it's a hilarious conversation. And I think it's funny that we all got duped by Adam Silver's supposed quote. Apparently, it was a source from the aggregator said a source close to Adam Silver said that he's willing to do anything at all costs, even if that means making the draft.
No draft
pool. Like
Yeah.
what? That's not what he said. But all right, cool. You're gonna jump off screen for 1 second. All right, let's go to college basketball. Jerome Tang and Kansas State University. And I think this hits home for University of Memphis because basically Kansas State and Memphis have made trades the last couple of off seasons.
Yep.
Tyreek Smith for Naquan Tomlin a couple of years ago. And then this year, Doug McDaniel for PJ Haggerty. So both of those guys have there's Memphis connections there. But Jerome Tang had a press conference a few days ago that really, in Kansas State came out once the decision was made to fire him, that they were going to fire him with cause because he publicly embarrassed the institution that is Kansas State with this press conference. Let me show this to you.
This was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. You know, it is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer, no words. So you got.
Christian, he got fired for cause for that press conference.
It's crazy. Crazy. Yeah, I mean,
I'm stunned by this.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear coaches blast that hard typically.
No.
But is it enough to be fired with cause?
The rule, the practice that they said he broke was that he embarrassed the institution. I think when that clause is put into a contract for a coach, is usually meant for a coach like Bob Huggins, who got caught egregiously drunk with trash cans full of beer cans in his car.
Right.
Like that brings an embarrassment to the organization, to the school, to the institution, where I think you can fire with cause. To say that the guys that I recruited that we're paying money to, your hard-earned dollars to, don't deserve to wear this uniform, and most of them won't next year. While that is a very strong statement and a very something you don't hear coaches say often, and probably something that I would if I was sitting down with Jerome Tang, would say, bro, you crossed the line. Like you crossed the line there. I think you definitely went overboard with your critique.
Yeah.
But they lost. That game came off of a loss to a 6-7 in the Big 12, 14-12 Cincinnati team that is really bad. That in Wes Miller's time at Cincinnati's never made the NCAA tournament. They lost by 30 to Kansas State.
Yeah.
Or they lost by 30. Kansas State lost by 30 to Cincinnati.
Right.
Like, of course he's pissed, and he's probably saying things like, but to say that he's going to get fired with cause is crazy to me, especially a guy like Jerome Tang.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they didn't just wait until the end of the season to do this. Like, I get it if they're trying to make an optic play, but they're 10-15 this year. They're not competing.
They're 1-11 in the Big 12. They're terrible. They're
Right.
terrible.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, Jerome Tang is not outside of that 1 year, which was a great year. They were 3 seed in the tournament. Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, that was my favorite team in the tournament that year. That was a fun team. They're really good. I think they ended up losing to FAU in the tournament.
Yes.
But outside of that, they haven't been very good under Jerome Tang.
No.
At all.
But that was 2 years ago. That's 3 years ago, Christian.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's had one out of 4 or 5 seasons at Kansas State. They've been to the tournament.
3 seasons. He took him to the Elite. This is his 3rd season with them. He took them to the Elite 8 his first year.
This is his 4th. This is his 4th year.
Okay. All right.
That was his first season as their head coach. So he set the bar immaculately high and then hasn't been back to the tournament since then. So I mean, I don't have a problem with them moving on. I'm looking at it right now. So he went 26-10 that year. Great year, like you said, Elite 8 team, awesome team. Then 19-15, 16-17, 10-15. So he's gotten worse every single year. One tournament appearance. Conference records have been under 500 outside of that year. 1-11 this season, 9-11 last year, 8-10 2 years ago. So it's not like he's an untouchable coach. And I think they've had beef, right? Like, there's been issues with Jerome Tang and there's been tension there, I think, for a couple of years.
Well, there was tension between Jerome Tang and Doug McDaniel. Like, he had it out with, like, he was like, they got into it this past year. I don't know if there's been tension between Kansas State and Jerome Tang, but he seems to clearly have issues with players at times. Like, he gets into it publicly with players.
No, he's very outspoken about the way that he feels. So I think it's crazy. Fire him with cause. If you want to fire him, but don't try to keep your money just because you're trying to save money. Like,
that's exactly
just because he had a great first season and made a lot more money than you expected him to make. Because it was like, wow, this dude just took us to the Elite 8. We had an awesome team. We got to give him an extension and raise his money because other teams are going to come after him. And then 3 years later, the team's terrible and in disarray. And you're like, look, we got to get rid of him. They saw their out is what happened. Look, this is an opportunity to fire him and try not to pay his buyout, which I think is just shady. So I'm not a fan of it.
I don't like it either. I think if just because you have buyer's remorse doesn't mean you get to then sully his reputation by saying we're firing you with cause.
And try not to pay him.
That seems disingenuous and dirty. I don't like that. Apparently, from what I understand, Jerome Tang has hired a law firm to fight it, which I think
somebody was trying to screw me at $18 million or something like that.
$1 million, bro.
Yeah.
I'm getting my money. I'm getting my money. All right, let's move on to topic number 3. Last topic for the hot 3. You're gonna jump off for 1 second. Here we go. Well, it was, gosh, this thing is going crazy. All right, NCAA contenders and pretenders. We're getting close to the NCAA tournament, and we've done this before in the past on the show, and I enjoy doing these segments with you guys where we talk about contenders and pretenders in the NCAA tournament. Let's go 1 through 5 first, and I don't want to do contenders and pretenders because all these teams I think are contenders for the NCAA championship. But let's go through the top 5 and see which team you like the most to win the championship. All right. Starting number 5, Iowa State Cyclones just beat Houston in Iowa State. Fantastic. Dude, it is so crazy. As a Memphis Tiger fan, I watched that Iowa State Houston game and was like, this ain't the same game, bro. Like, this is not the same game. And it makes me sad to see Houston be this good because, damn, if Memphis wasn't right there with them a few years ago, right? In the same conference, fighting them. Anyway, Iowa State Cyclones, are they – they're number 5 in the nation. Number 4, Houston Cougars. Number 3, Duke Blue Devils. Number 2, Arizona Wildcats. And the new number 1, Yaxel Lindenborg of UAB fame. And the Michigan Wolverines are number 1 in the nation. And Michigan just beat Purdue, like smoked them pretty good. Which of these 5 teams do you think has the best chance? Which one do you like to come out to possibly be the national champion this year?
I mean, as far as like team basketball, the way they've played this year, it's hard not to say Michigan's been awesome. Like,
so good.
Yaxel Lindenborg's been their best player, but it's not like they have one of these elite players. You know, they don't have like a Cameron Boozer or something like that, like Duke does. So I really like Michigan, but then who I just talked about with Duke, I love Cameron Boozer. I think he's one of those players that he's good enough when you get to the tournament that he can elevate your team. Let's look through else. Houston, I'm always going to like Houston because I love Kelvin Sampson. And I mean they've had Emmanuel Sharp there for 15 years leading the team. So
and now they got that little point guard Kingston Flemings who is going to be a lottery draft pick this year as a point guard. He's so good. Yeah, like one of the things we know about Houston is for years they've been their defense has carried the day for them, right? And so when they get a really good offensive player like a Marcus Sasser a few years ago, or a Kingston Flemings this year, or even a Quentin Grimes a few years ago. It's like, man, you add offense to what Houston does culturally as a defensive team, they're just really hard to beat. But there's something about Houston, for some reason, they cannot win the big one. They always lose in the final, in the Elite Eight or the Final Four.
Final Four. Yeah.
They always lose.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, as far as pure teams in the top 5, Michigan plays really well as a team. Arizona plays really, really well as a team. I know they lost their last 2, right? They
lost 2 in a row. Yeah, they lost 2 in a row.
They lost 2 in a row. I mean, like you said, all these teams are legit. All these teams are to me, contenders. You're not going to be surprised.
No.
But I don't know. I guess you got to say Michigan right now because they're rolling, and Yaxel Lindenborg's a monster, and the way that they play as a unit's incredible, and I think Arizona's right there with them. But it's just like those superstar players like Cameron Boozer at Duke, where you go a lot of deep run tournament teams, maybe not so much recently, but like when you get that superstar player that can completely carry you to a championship, like Cameron Boozer is the level of player that can do that. Now, do I think Duke as a team is as good as Arizona, Michigan, UConn, like top to bottom starting 5? No, but sometimes those star players just can take you the distance. So,
All right, let's go through the top 25. I'm going to just do a couple because we're going to get out of here in about – we'll be out of here in about 4 minutes. All right, let's do contenders and pretenders.
Okay.
A team that made it to the Final Four last year that nobody expected was the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah.
And they are top 20 this year with 2 freshmen, a backcourt duo, freshman class, Darius Acuff Jr. and Malik Thomas. And Darius Acuff Jr. is – like, truthfully, Christian, if I could get Cameron Boozer and Darius Acuff in the first round, if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, I would consider this thing a wrap, right? They are number 20 in the nation. Darius Acuff averaging 21.2 points. Malik Thomas averaging 15 points a game. Darius Acuff shoots 50.3% from the floor and dishes out 6.3 assists. Is Arkansas a contender or are they a pretender?
I don't think they're like a true contender. I think they're a good team. 2 freshmen leading the way is hard, though, when you get into the tournament, especially with some of these teams that are very, very veteran-laden like Michigan that have a lot of older talent that's transferred in, that's been around the country, that's played a lot of basketball. And I know they have like some older players on the team, but they like you said, they lead the way with freshmen. For me, it's hard to say that a team that's 2 best players are freshmen, that they're going to go deep in a tournament, especially in this day and age where you have so many experienced players that are on the top teams. It's not it's deviated a lot from the mainly freshman teams that used to dominate, like the Kentuckys of the world. Now it's who can get the most experienced guys that have been around, that have might not be NBA prospects or high round NBA prospects, but it's more so about team. And Arkansas is good, but I don't think they're a true contender.
Got you. All right, they're number 13 in the country. The article that I'm looking at is Jay Billis put out the top 25 or his basically top 68 teams, the best 68 teams in college basketball. They're ranked 13th in the polls, but in his list, they're number 18, Texas Tech Red Raiders. Are they contenders or pretenders? They've got JT Toppin, who honestly, bro, like could be a Wooden Award winner this year. He's so freaking talented. Christian Anderson, phenomenal shooter. Donovan Atwell, they both shoot at in college basketball. If you shoot 3-point percentage of 35% or higher, I consider you a good 3-point shooter. Both these mugs are 44%.
Yeah.
Right. With JT Toppin, who is a dominant post player in college basketball. Texas Tech is a team I think is a contender for the national.
I do too, just because same thing when you have these really skilled, really high level offensive players and these offensive minded teams that can run up the score. like there are a lot of times where you see those teams make it to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four, just because their offense gets hot and they have multiple star level offensive players that can go score. And even if they don't have the most effective defense, it's like, look, can you score 85? Like we can score 85 or 90.
Right.
Like, do you have that level of talent? And I mean, that Kansas State team that we just talked about from a few years ago, they were that offensive juggernaut, fun.
You just couldn't stop them. You couldn't stop them on defense. Yeah.
Right. And I think Texas Tech has a lot of that in them. So, like, are they amongst the top 5 or 6 teams in the country? No. But are they one of the teams that you can see, look, you have the talent to get hot and make a run? Yeah, I think they do too.
Absolutely. All right, let's go all the way to his number 9. They were number 1 for a while, the Kansas Jayhawks, with the prohibitive favorite to be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA draft, Darren Peterson, but a guy who has not played in a bunch of games this year, that really the most influential games, the high-profile games this year. Is Kansas a contender or are they pretender?
I mean, if Darren Peterson's playing, they're definitely a contender, and I think so. I really do think so. I like what they have in the front court. I like what they have at the guard position. Like, I think they're a deep team. He's just a question mark, right? Like, if he's not playing, or if he's not playing a full game, especially when you come tournament time, like if he really is more focused on the draft than winning a national championship, then no. But I like Kansas, and they have arguably the most talented, the best player in the country in Darren Peterson. And just like I talked about with Cameron Boozer, but some of those players, if you get the right core around them, if you get some of those older veteran leader guys around them and put a superstar in the middle of them, those teams can do it. Like, it would not be surprising at all. So when you have somebody at that talent level, yes, you can. Now, do I trust him enough to be there and be available? No. Like, I wouldn't put my money on Kansas making it to the Elite Eight. But if they did, if they were Elite Eight, Final Four level team, you would look at the stats and go, oh, Darren Peterson's averaging 24 points a game. Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. Does Kansas's inability to win big games under Bill Self impact this at all for you? Because they lose in the NCAA tournament. They don't win a lot. No,
they don't. But does it impact? To me, not really. I don't get too caught up in that, because especially nowadays with how different the teams
You don't believe in that?
every-
You don't believe in that? You don't believe in
No, I mean, I do to an extent. Like, there are big game coaches. Like, I'm not saying that's a myth. There are coaches that when you get them in a big game, they're there. They're built for the moment. They've got a great game plan. Like, we've seen those. But I don't know. I think with different teams and different players and different talent levels, especially with someone like Darren Peterson, like, no, I'm not going to – if they get in the tournament, or when they get in the tournament, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, Bill Self can't make it to the Elite Eight or Final Four anymore, so I'm not circling Kansas on my list.
I think that's fair. All right, let's go last one, and I'm going to give you 2 teams.
All right.
The 2 teams that are defending national champions. The UConn Huskies won 2 straight 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and 2 years ago. Last year, Florida won the national championship. And in Jay Billis's best 68 teams, they are number 8, UConn Huskies, and number 7, Florida Gators. UConn was really bad last year. They were not good last year.
No.
They weren't good. Florida won it, but UConn has the pedigree. Florida's the defending national champion. Which one of those 2 teams is more of a contender to you, Florida or the UConn Huskies?
To me, I think it's UConn.
I agree.
I think UConn's really good. I mean, you go up and down their starting 5. I think they're solid at every position in their starting 5, and there's not many teams around the country that can say that. That's why I mentioned them with like Michigan and Arizona as far as teams. Like, starting 5, how do they play together? How deep are they? I think they're up there in the upper echelon as far as the best teams. They don't have like necessarily the most elite top 3 pick players like Duke and Kansas do. But I mean, as far as well coached, depth in the starting 5, like I think they're very well rounded. And with Florida,
their front court is they're animals, bro. They're animals.
Yes. My hang up with Florida, and this might be superficial, I don't know. The reason I would take UConn over Florida, you see what happens to them in SEC play, what's happened to them in SEC play this year. It's just such a physical the SEC is not as good this year as it has been in years past.
No.
I mean, the last few years, the SEC has been top to bottom loaded. But I don't know. It just with teams like Tennessee, it's such a physical conference, and you see just getting wore down and beat up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if by that point, by the time you're done with the SEC play and dealing with Tennessee, Alabama, and some of these teams at Arkansas, some of these teams at the top of the conference, I don't know. I don't know if you can go through that tournament style, and that. It's not to say that all these conferences aren't deep. Like, look at the Big 12 and the Big 10. They are ridiculous. But I don't know. It's just something about SEC. I feel like they just beat the crap out of each other. Maybe I've got football brain when it comes to the SEC and college basketball, but I just feel like it's such a physical, defensive-minded conference.
The biggest question mark for me for the Florida Gators, I think they have a championship-winning front court. Their front court is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would seriously, if I'm in the second round, I would look at one of the three front court players for the Florida Gators and say, I'm putting my chips on those guys to be really good in the NBA. The biggest concern I have for the Florida Gators is their backcourt play. Can Boogie Flan be a good player for them? He transferred in from Arkansas, was hurt a lot last year, and just has not been very good this year. Like, I think he's been decent, but he's so streaky as a shooter.
Yeah.
Like, that's
another thing. Florida's not a good three-point shooting team, really at all. And UConn's a
fantastic,
great three-point shooting team, and that's another one of those tournament X factors. If you don't have guys that can get hot, then you're going to struggle. And I think UConn from deep's a lot better than Florida.
If Boogie Flan has an off couple of games, Florida will not make it past the second weekend. I don't think. I think if Boogie Flan goes nuts they could win it all.
They have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, that's it.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us this week. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening via podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, you can do the same there. Once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.